The energy originated from the dantian is adequate, so one ought to not to overtly exert it. One shouldn't underexert either, but rather it should be done in a regular fashion as not to hurt it. Energy originating from the dantian, the fundamental source, is continuous and inexhaustible. However, if you do not know how to use it, you may injure your energy or even cut it off. Be aware of this point. If you know how to utilize it, whether writing or doing anything, then you do things with one fell swoop and an indication of your mastery. What is more, there are many offenders who undergo the various kinds of extreme suffering in their health. Hundreds of thousands of yakshas. Yakshas are speedy ghosts and evil ones. There are many kinds of yakshas, such as the flying yakshas and the ground traveling yakshas, and other evil ghosts. Evil ghosts are just yakshas, and yakshas are just evil ghosts. Among the various kinds of yakshas, this particular type of evil ghosts referred to are the ground traveling yakshas. They display fangs like swords. Their mouths are like caverns of blood, their teeth like blades, and eyes like lightning as they pull and drag the offenders with their brass-colored hands. Their eyes shine like lightning, and their hands are made of brass or as strong as brass. These ghosts pick offenders up and toss them about with their enormous strength, throwing them perhaps several yards, perhaps 100. Beings there have to go where these ghosts order. Other yakshas wield huge iron halberds that they use to pierce the offender's body, mouths and noses, or stab their bellies and backs. They toss the offenders into the air and then catch them by skewering them with the halberds, or they let them drop onto the bed, not to let them sleep, but poke and pierce them with these iron halberds. Iron eagles peck at the offender's eyes and heads and crack open the skulls to eat their brains. And one type of iron serpents in particular that wrap around their necks. Long nails are driven into all their limbs and joints. Their tongues are pulled out, stretched, and then plowed through. Don't lie or engage in gossip. Regardless of how others treat us, we refuse to critique others. For if we do, we will enter this hell, and our tongue will be plucked or plowed through like a field. Their internal organs are gouged out, sliced, and munched. Moistened copper is poured into their mouths, and their bodies are bound with hot iron. Responses to their karma go on like that throughout at least hundreds of thousands of deaths and rebirths. They undergo 10,000 deaths and as many births in a single day. They pass through hundreds of millions of years seeking escape in vain. It is difficult to leave this hell. Sutra. When this world is destroyed, they find themselves in another world. When that world is destroyed, they pass on to another one. When that world too is destroyed, they move on to another one. When this world comes into being again, they return here. The situation involving relentless retribution for offenses is like that. Moreover, 5 karmic responses account for the name relentless. What are the 5? First, it is said to be relentless because punishment is undergone day and night throughout many years without ceasing for a moment. Second, it is said to be relentless because one person feels it in the same way that many people feel it. Third, it is said to be relentless because repeated punishments continue without cease throughout years that stretch into nayutas of years. Those punishments are inflicted by instruments of torture such as forks and clubs, or by eagles, serpents, wolves, and dogs, or by pounding, grinding, sawing, drilling, chiseling, cutting, and chopping, or by boiling liquids, iron nets, iron ropes, iron asses, and iron horses, or by rawhide stripes bound around one's head and moistened iron poured over one's body, and by meals of iron pellets and drinks of moistened iron. Fourth, it is said to be relentless because all beings undergo karmic responses based on the offenses that they have committed, whether they be men, women, savages, old, young, honorable, or lowly, whether they be dragons, spirits, gods, or ghosts. Fifth, it is said to be relentless because offenders continually undergo 10,000 deaths and as many rebirths each day and night from the moment they first enter this hell, and on through hundreds of thousands of years. During that time, they seek even a moment's relief, but it never comes. Only when their karma is exhausted, they can leave the hell and be born elsewhere. A star Bodhisattva says to the worthy mother, "That is a brief description of the relentless hell. If I were to speak extensively about the names of all the implements of punishment in the house and all the sufferings there, I could not finish speaking in an entire year." After hearing that, Lady Maya placed her palms together sorrowfully, made obeisance, and withdrew. Commentary. Right now, the average lifespan of a human being is a bit over 60 years. This, of course, it is just an average which does not consider the exception. So, those who live to be 100 or those who die at the age of 1 or 2. Neither one is an average of most people. When Shakyamuni Buddha was in the world, the average lifespan was 70 to 80 years. Now it is 60 to 70 years. At the beginning, a human lifespan is 84,000 years. Every century, the human lifespan decreases by 1 year, and man's height diminishes by an inch. When the lifespan decreases to 10 years, it will turn and again begin to increase until it reaches 84,000 years. The period during which the lifespan diminishes is called a decreasing eon. The period in which it lengthens is called an increasing eon. One cycle of an increasing eon and a decreasing eon is called a kalpa, and 1,000 of these constitute a small kalpa. 20 small kalpas make a medium kalpa, and 4 medium kalpas constitute one great kalpa. Each of the 4 medium kalpas consists of the stages of forming, abiding, decaying, and emptiness. Each stage lasts 1 medium kalpa, which is equivalent to 20 small kalpas. This world in which we live has its times of forming, abiding, decaying, and emptiness. Every world decays. Places that were dry land several thousand years ago are now submerged and no longer exist. Earthquakes eradicate entire villages, districts, or even countries. This is what is meant by when this world is destroyed, they find themselves in another world. It is not the case that when this world ends, one's karma in their health is exhausted. Far from it. One simply moves to health in another world where the deeds done with the body find retribution. When that world is destroyed according to the stages in sequence, they pass on to another one. When that world too is destroyed, they move on to another one. In general, they move out of places that are destroyed and move on to places that are intact. When this world comes into being again, they return here. The situation involving relentless retribution for offenses is like that. This is what is meant. What is meant by relentless? The retribution for offenses is continuous and never quits. Moreover, 5 karmic responses account for the name relentless. This hell is called relentless or avashi in Sanskrit because of 5 events that occur due to the power of karma. What are the 5 relentless aspects? First, it is said to be relentless because punishment is undergone day and night throughout many or countless years without ceasing for a moment. There is no respite from the bitter retribution received due to one's own karmic creation. Second, it is said to be relentless because one person feels it in the same way that many people feel it. One person in this hell is as full as many people in it. Third, it is said to be relentless because repeated punishments continue without cease throughout years that stretch into limitless nayutas of years. Those punishments are inflicted by instruments of torture such as forks and clubs. The body is both a tool for creating the karma and a tool for receiving the retribution. Or by eagles, serpents, wolves, and dogs, or by pounding, such as grating someone in a rice mill, grinding, sawing, drilling, chiseling someone's bone marrow with iron, cutting and chopping someone's bones to pieces, or by boiling someone in pot of oily liquids. Is that not miserable? Such as iron nets, iron ropes, iron asses, and iron horses, or by rawhide stripes bound around one's head, and moistened iron poured over one's body, or by meals of iron pellets when someone is hungry, and drinks of molten iron when someone is thirsty for tea or water. Fourth, it is said to be relentless because all beings undergo karmic responses based on the offenses that they have committed, whether they be men, women, savages. Savages refer to tribes in peripheral regions, such as the barbarous people in various parts of China. In southern China, there were the southern barbarians. For example, Mancha said of Su Xing, a native of Chu, he is a southern barbarian with a tongue like a bird's, which is not in the heritage of kings. He talks the way a bird chirps. You have no idea what he is saying. In historical China, people in Shandong, East Mountain, Shanxi, West Mountain, Henan, Southern River, and Hebei, Northern River, all spoke Mandarin. People south of Hunan, Southern Lake were called Southern Barbarians because they could not be understood by Mandarin speakers. We do not need to mention English because the Chinese did not even understand each other then. Hence, Southerners were called barbarians. The West and China have not established exchanges or communication then. The word for barbarian contains the word insect because the Southerners were considered snake-like. People in Western China were called Chuan, Canine. The Easterners were called Yi and Northerners Di. which both contain the radical kanin in it. Basically, they were seen as transformed from dogs. The Chinese character for the Chiang pupil has the radicate goat on top. That is to say, they were also transformed from animals. There was also the Hu pupil, whether old, young, honorable, or lowly. At what age is considered old or young? Usually 80 or above is considered old age, and 10 years of age is a child. The honorable may be kings, and the lowly may be ordinary citizens. Whether they be dragons, spirits, gods, or ghosts, all of them equally receive the retribution they deserve, making this the relentless hell. Fifth, it is said to be relentless because offenders continually undergo 10,000 deaths and as many rebirths each day and night from the moment they first enter this hell, and on through hundreds of thousands of years. When one dies, the clever breeze revives the offender, but only for him to suffer and die again. Thus it is said that myriad deaths and myriad births continuously without cease. During that time, they is given a moment's relief, but it never comes. There is no respite for even as long a time as a thought. Only when their karma is exhausted can they leave the hell and be born elsewhere. When will such incessant suffering stop? When one's karmic obstructions end. Hence, this is the relentless hell. A star Bodhisattva says to the worthy Mother Lady Maya, that is a brief description of the relentless hell. If I were to speak extensively about the names of all the implements of punishment in the hells and all the sufferings there in detail, I could not finish speaking in an entire end even if I want to. After hearing that, Lady Maya, Shakyamuni Buddha's mother, placed her palms together and extreme sorrowfully made obeisance to Earth Star Bodhisattva and withdrew.